Chapter 2. The Day Before. The roar of a motorcycle deafened me. The engine rumbled through the walls directly into my headset. My teeth vibrated from the assaulting decibels. I couldn't hear the person on the other end and asked him to repeat the order. The engine cut off, but the ringing in my ear continued.
Look, idiot! I need 6 6-piece chicken tenders. Don't know why I need to tell you 40 frickin' times.
6 6-pieces? Why not order 3 12-pieces? But I rolled my eyes. Sir, perhaps...
And that's another thing. I'm a woman. Don't assume my gender. Don't make me come through this microphone and tear out your gizzard.
What? It doesn't even make any sense. My stomach clenched in embarrassment and fear. I took a shuddering breath and said, Ma'am, I'm very sorry. That'll be $30. Please pull up to the second window. I pushed the button on my controller to mute my microphone and sighed. The motorcycle, that apparently used a jet engine, roared to life and moved forward. It pulled outside my window and the vibrations shook sauce packets onto the floor. I opened the window when the buzzer dinged inside my headset. I pushed the unmute button. Hi, how are you today? I asked with robotic enthusiasm.
I'm pissed off because I don't have my chicken,
the biker lady growled. Hi, I need a second, the voice in my ear screamed. Why do people think they need to yell into a microphone a foot away from their faces? The lady on the bike handed me cash. Would you like sauce? Geez, I haven't even ordered yet, the customer at the menu complained. I inhaled and jammed the mute button.
Nah, my dog can't have sauce. Gives him the Hershey squirts,
the Harley rider said with a grin of only 4 teeth. I'd heard that we sell dog food before, but I never thought it was that literal. John, my boss asked from the inside the restaurant. I jumped in my skin and spun around. I need you to clean up the men's bathroom. Someone blew it up. Kinda busy at the moment, I said, pointing at my headset. Nah, you should go clean that, kid, voice at the menu said. This stupid button never works, I muttered and smashed the mute button.
Where are my nuggets at?
The woman hollered. Heat rose to my face. One coworker handed me the bag, which I gave to the lady. She drove off in a cloud of toxic exhaust fumes that left me hacking for air. Can I order now? The person at the menu asked. John, now, my boss ordered. She snatched the headset off my head, slapping me with the cord. I scooted around her and slumped into the bathroom. Opening the door, I cried, Holy shit! The smell punched me in the face harder than any fist. A putrid combination of methane, sour milk, and death. My nose burned and tears sprang to my eyes. John! My boss snapped. Watch your language. I wheezed for air on the front counter in full view of the customers. Boss, please don't make me clean that up, I begged. The stench was clogged in my nostrils, killing brain cells and depleting oxygen. Either you clean it or you die trying, she said, turning to the window to pass out change. She can't really kill me, right? I gulped hard, reminding myself that I had been through worse. This was just a smell. Surely I've let off farts that were worse than that. Covering my face with shirt, I kicked open the door like a SWAT officer. I barreled in, determined to find the source of the odor. The bathroom was only a stall, a urinal, and a sink. The last person to clean there left a plunger and a can of air freshener. It's like storming Normandy with a dart gun. 30 minutes later. Dude, the entire toilet was the wrong color, I recounted, waving my hand for emphasis. I don't mean the interior bowl. I mean the entire fruitcake and porcelain throne. Alex, my best friend, snorted and swung a half-hearted kick at me. Man, I'm drinking a chocolate peanut butter milkshake. He slurped a straw against the bottom of the cup to support his point. That's not the worst part, I said, staring into the tile floor. My hands shook. The stuff was on the floor, on the walls, and this bastard even got some on the ceiling. What, was he aiming? Alex said, stabbing the cherry with a straw. I shrugged. And inside the bowl, there was a name tag, a rubber glove, and a phone cord in the pile. I think it ate a man, Alex snickered. I shook my head, but the absolute worst part was, I dropped my voice down, there was no toilet paper. Alex's face contorted as he screwed his eyes shut and wrinkled his nose. Ew! I know! Cars drove past the window to get in the drive-thru line. Almost no one actually ate inside the restaurant. And then, an SUV parked and a group of girls started getting out. I ran like hell from that fecal demon. $8.50 an hour is not worth the nightmares I'm gonna have from that. I sprinted here and called you. Well, that wasn't entirely true. I walked out with my head down, staring at the tile floor and hoping nobody noticed my exit. I jogged here to Winston's, threw up in their clean toilet, flushed because I'm not a psychopath, and then called Alex. He got us milkshakes. Did you tell anyone you left? He raised an eyebrow. No. I chewed my lip. Alex sucked his teeth and remarked, not a great plan. He flashed his signature smirk before downing his milkshake. I always hated that look that said I'm the best at everything and nothing stands in my way. That level of arrogance got him all the girls in high school and even a hot teacher's aide once. That and his blue eyes, big fruit-kicking biceps, and bleached blonde hair. Those probably got him girls too. A superstar athlete with daddy's money paying his tuition, Alex had it all. "So what are you going to do?" he asked, widening his eyes at me. "Is your dad going to be ticked?" Probably. Actually, he may not even notice. Jordan is all he and mom focus on nowadays. I held up my hands. I get it, but it still sucks when they basically just ignore me. "Yeah, I get that," Alex murmured. He stared at a few girls who walked in. I rolled my eyes and thunked my milkshake cup on the table. Alex jumped in his seat. "Any chance I can get a job here?" I asked, waving a hand in Alex's face. Alex's dad, Winston Evansworth, was a multimillionaire from franchising his self-named restaurant, Winston's. The physical buildings were basic white and green fast food restaurants with giant white W's everywhere. They served all kinds of food, but the hand-spun milkshakes were the best. Homemade and with more flavors than the customer could even imagine. The one Alex and I frequented was the original in the chain. "Sorry, bro," Alex said, shaking his hand. "We filled the last spot 2 weeks ago." "Damn," I said, leaning back. The fact that I no longer had a steady income was slowly coming to reality. How am I going to pay for college with all of Dad's money going to Jordan's health bills? This gap year was supposed to make sure that I didn't need to take out a loan. How am I going to save up for that car? I ran a hand through my hair. "Dude, do you think I made the right decision?" "John, you were literally just bragging about how it wasn't worth it." Alex pulled out his phone and examined his perfect teeth in the reflection. He rubbed a fingernail against one. I nodded my head to the sides and fidgeted. Yeah, I know, but I just realized that I don't have any way to make money now." "Meh," Alex shrugged. "Money isn't everything." I scowled and said, "It's always people with money who get to say that nonsense." "Well, money may not matter." Alex leaned forward, holding up a finger, "but what you buy with it does." "At least you're honest," Alex grinned. "Nah, seriously, man, I might be doomed." I put my hands on my head and leaned against the table. I need to just go back and beg for my job back. Alex smacked the table with his palm. "What you need to do is get your head out of your ass," Alex said in a firm tone. He shook his hand. "Relax. Be confident in yourself and stop giving a fruitcake, to quote your mom. Just go out there and take what you want. Make it happen, bro." "Easy for you to say," I muttered. I ground my teeth against my lip. There was a dark spot on my shoe that I really hoped was mud. "Yes, it is easy for me to say. I run my life and get whatever I want." He drummed his fingers on the table. "And whoever I want." I scowled at the floor with my head against the table. "The other thing you need to do is quit running at the first sign of trouble. You do it all the time, man." I sat up and frowned. "Like when?" Alex, who had been staring at the girls that walked in, turned and held up his hand. He started ticking off fingers. "Today, for one. Leaving the football team. Hey, the coaches replaced me with a freshman when I was a junior. Granted, but..." He held up the 2 fingers and pointed them at me like a gun. "You didn't take it up with said coaches. You just accepted it, sulked, and left. I'm not blaming you, but it's an example of you clenching your ass cheeks and running. Back to the list. Numero tres is when I went out with Rachel sophomore year, and you didn't say a thing, bro." I gritted my teeth. "What was I supposed to say?" "Something. Anything," Alex yelled. A few other patrons looked over at him. He winked and smirked back at them. The despair in me crept into anger. Rachel was a girl I had a crush on since 2nd grade. Alex knew that. "You could have made a move on her first, or told me to back off. I knew you liked her, but she was into me. I'm not a total dick." He grinned like a car salesman and tilted an open hand. "Just like 90%. I snorted, but Alex continued. "What I'm saying, bro, is that you need to take control of your life. Live dangerously." I rolled my eyes and smirked. "And how do you propose I do that, Yoda?" I fired back. "Be you?" Alex shook his head with that plastered grin. "Nah, there's only one of me. You should be you, though between you and me, I am a super awesome, humble, sexy role model you should definitely try to emulate." I rolled my eyes. "Tell you what, Johnny, how about you come with me to this party in Springfield?" I bristled at the name he called me. John was good enough. Alex didn't notice and made an hourglass with his hands. "There are some smoking hot babes out there that are so much fun. It'll be a good experience for you." "I don't know," I said, shifting in my seat. I had never been to a party before. Alex tried dragging me to them, but I was always working or with my family. "I'll be at your house at 8, Alex announced, standing. "Gonna pick up another shake, then I'll give you a ride home." He patted his pockets. "Got a 5? I scowled and dug out the last of my cash from my now empty wallet. He grinned, but did not push his chair back in. A stew of emotions simmered inside me. Anger at how he kept poking at me, embarrassment at how right he was with all of his points, nervousness at the party tonight, and worry at how Dad was going to react when he found out I no longer had a job. "Lego, John," Alex said. He had put on aviator shades and twirled his key ring on his index finger. Arrogant smirk flashed at me. Well, actually at the table of girls behind me. They giggled and I pushed my chair in, grating it against the floor. In the parking lot sat Alex's blood-red convertible Mustang. What kind of parents get their kid a Mustang? I thought for the millionth time. Alex hopped over the driver's seat and threw all the trash in the passenger seat in the back. I opened the door and sat down next to him. He gunned the mechanical beast in reverse before I even had my seatbelt latched. Country rap blared out of the $1,000 sound system. Alex nearly had the car in the air with how fast he roared through our housing development. The tires screeched as he slammed on the brakes in front of my house. He turned the volume down on that horrible excuse for music. All right, John, I want you to take the next few hours and totally change everything about yourself. His blue eyes bore into me over his aviator glasses, and he looked like a character from some 80s movie. I snorted and shook my head. Oh, is that all? Perhaps I should build a rocket car, then orbit the sun in the same amount of time. Nah, I'm sure Elon Musk already did that. Just take a breath, be confident, and don't be... He waved a hand searching for the word. I raised an eyebrow. Me? A broad smile spread on his face. Exactly. See you at 8, bro. I stepped out of the car and he roared away. With friends like him, who needs enemies? I thought, trudging up the driveway. My family lived in a white brick split level. When we first moved in, I liked how roomy and clean the place was. Then my sister got cancer. The roominess became emptiness, and the cleanliness evolved into sterility. Basically a hospital, but only half as inviting. From the outside, it was impossible to know that. The building mirrored all the houses on this street, with the exception of the neon pink chairs sitting on our front porch. Dad painted them for Jordan when she got sick 2 years ago. The porch was her favorite spot to spend the evenings watching the sunset. I personally preferred sunrises because it started out the day on a moment of beauty, but the house didn't face east. I scowled at the shaggy, unmowed lawn. I was probably going to have to mow it. Later, when it's cooler. I pulled open the front door. The lights in the hallway were off, and Mom's purse wasn't in its usual spot on the living room table. Must not be home yet, I thought. Mom was very organized, in particular about where everything is put. Everything is put in its place for a reason, she always said. Noises from the downstairs television told me Jordan was home. I poured myself a glass of water in the kitchen and thumped down the stairs in the den. My sister sat nestled in a cocoon of blankets, all of them pink, with only her bald head poking out. She watched the drama of her latest anime with zealous attention. I plopped down on the sofa next to her and kicked off my shoes. She glared at me and wrinkled her nose. Ew, John! You know how nasty your shoes stink! I rolled my eyes and waved a foot at her. She unsheathed a chopstick arm from her blanket fort and swung at me. Terribly sorry to offend your tender sensibilities, dear sister. I had to endure a smell so foul I didn't even notice these. I pointed to my shoes and wiggled my toes. In all fairness to Jordan, they probably did smell like fried chicken and sweaty feet. But what were work shoes supposed to smell like? Jordan squinted and stroked her chin. How come you're home 20 minutes early? I quit, I said, stretching out on the couch. Her jaw dropped. Does Mom know? I shook my head. Why'd you leave? I recounted a very similar story to the one I told Alex. She burst out laughing when I mentioned the customer wanting the nuggets for her dog. I told you that place served dog food. When I got to the final revelation about the toilet from hell, she gagged. That is so nasty. That person needs to be shot. I gave her a sideways look. Kind of a weird thing to hear from someone battling leukemia. She shrugged. Hey, I might be dying, but at least I wiped my butt. That guy isn't welcome on the planet. The commercial break on her show ended. Like she was magnetized, the television stole her attention. I now spoke to her ear. I told Alex the whole situation. He called me a wimp and drove me home. On screen, quick cuts showed the anime characters staring each other down in what looked like an epic battle. But the subtitle said they were making breakfast. Jordan was an anime purist who never watched the dub version. Well, duh, she remarked, still facing the screen. Of course you're a wimp, John, especially compared to me. She flexed her arms, making her identical to a stick figure. She affected an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent and said, Hiya! You need to smile better! Get to the chopper! Ah! I laughed at how terrible it was. If a chipmunk attempted to do Arnie's voice, it would have matched Jordan pretty well. Hey, where's Mom? I didn't see her purse upstairs. Jordan made a sour face. Another trip to the drug dealer. You'd think they'd at least give me some good stuff. That was Jordan's way of saying that Mom was getting her more medicine. I wasn't sure if this was an on or off week for chemo. Jordan tried not to make a big deal about it. She also had to swing by the library and then was going to bring home food. I grunted and stood up. Go shower, you stink. I bowed and said, Thank you, Your Highness, for thine permission. She stuck her tongue out at me. I ascended the stairs, drinking the glass of water still in my hand. I walked past the bedrooms on the way to the bathroom. Mine looked like a tornado went through a clothes store. But there is a path, I would often proclaim when Mom wanted me to clean up the mess. She was never amused. Jordan's room was the total opposite, with no mess and no obstructions to her bed. My sister hated it and complained that it was too much like a hospital room. My mother said that was the point. My parents' room was a blend of their children's rooms. Mom's side was meticulous and kept at the same level of clean like the rest of the house. Always be ready for guests. Dad's side was like a cluttered hotel room, cleaner than mine, but not up to my mother's standard. I entered the bathroom and stripped off my uniform. The sight of my naked body made me cringe. I had long limbs with no muscle definition. My hairline had started to recede and decided to cover my body in weird patches. Not good for a 19-year-old. I didn't want to look at the mutant in the mirror. He wasn't confident. Great. Even my inner idiot agrees with Alex. I stepped into the shower and let the hot water pound against my back. I lost track of time as my mind drifted into an almost meditative state. Harsh pounding on the door jerked me back to reality. The fist wasn't heavy enough to be my father. He hit the door like the police with a warrant. But the strength behind the knocking was more than Jordan was capable of producing. I slammed off the water and wrapped a towel around my scrawny waist. Opening the door released a sea of steam into the hallway. My mother's outline radiated annoyance and disappointment. "Jonathan Robert Andrews, what have I told you about overly long showers? You've been in here for 10 minutes since I got home. That much hot water is bad for your hair and skin, and it costs more money too." Mom never yelled, but the firmness in her voice made me want to fold into my towel and hide. "Get dressed and meet me in the dining room." I dried my body with a towel and darted into my room. Keeping Mom waiting was a really bad idea. I threw on clean underwear, jeans, and a t-shirt. I tugged on a sweatshirt and grabbed my phone at the last second too. I hurried down the stairs, stuffing the phone into the front pocket of my pants. Mom awaited me at the dining room table. Her pale, gray eyes glared over the dark glasses, appearing much bigger. I sat down, scared to make the first move. There was a manila envelope on top of a stack of papers. Mom's pink lips were set in a grim line, and her left eyebrow rose up in question. "So, my mouth felt like cotton. I coughed to clear my throat. "I saw Alex today, and he said hi to you. What is she gonna do to me? She never just yells at me. It always has to be some psychological torture, like a cat that found a hamster." "That was nice of Alex," Mom said in her flattest voice. Mom used to be a high school math teacher, and I can only imagine that this is how she talked to the trouble kids. "How come you got to go out with him?" "I, actually quit." Mom drummed her fingers on the hard surface. "Really? I don't remember hearing you talk about giving your 2 weeks' notice." Mom shoved a knife into my guts. She wanted me to spill everything. "No, I didn't send in my 2 weeks." My lip was still a hamburger from the conversation with Alex, or else I'd be chewing it again. "Interesting." Mom sat back and folded her arms. I shifted in my seat. "I swung by your work to pick you up, save you the walk home, and your manager informed me that you left without a word. I stuck up for you, saying that my son would never just walk out on a commitment, but some of the other employees supported your manager's declaration." She twisted the knife. "Then I called you, only to receive no answer. As you can probably imagine, that worried me, because your fruit-caking phone is practically glued to your hand. So, may I see it?" I pulled out the device and clicked the button. Several notifications, texts, and missed calls filled the screen. I set it on the table so she could see. Mom nodded with a fake smile. "Ah, so it does work. I can see you probably fell asleep in the shower, but how come you didn't call me when you walked out on your job? Or perhaps respond to the text I sent you while you were with Alex?" Her tone was so flat, I couldn't tell if I was still in trouble or if she was genuinely concerned. Since she could read me like a book, I decided to go with the truth. "At Winston's with Alex, he kind of chewed me out," I answered, continuing my staring contest with the table. "He said that I lack basic confidence and I need to quit running from all my problems. Then he drove me home and demanded that I go with him to a party that I don't particularly want to go to. I talked with Jordan, then I showered. Sorry for falling asleep again." I conceded victory to the inanimate object and looked up at her. Mom breathed a deep sigh. She rubbed her eyes and said, "John, I'm not happy that you just left, but I get it. Jordan told me the details of why you left. It felt good to hear her cackle, even if over such low-brow details, especially with this." She nodded to the envelope. "What is it? Bad news?" "Hopefully not," she said with a small smile. "The treatment they put her on appears to be working better than the others." I raised my eyebrows. "Don't get your hopes up. This is good news, but nothing for certain. Dr. Mesgett told me that as hard as it is, prepare for the worst in case this is a false reading." As if we weren't already in that mindset. "The details are in there. I was waiting for your father to go over them. You know what they say. There's no good news or bad news, just bad journalists." I didn't have the heart to tell Mom that no one said that. Mom had been working through this nightmare for years. "Plus, we don't want to get Jordan's hopes up." That was fair. "Well, I hope it goes well," I said, giving her a hug. Mom squeezed back and let me go. "Thank you, John. As for what you did today, please be merciful. I want you to be the one to tell your father." "Aw, fruitcake!" "And you're going to have to go to this party with Alex." "Huh?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Mm-hmm." She nodded with a widening smile. What would you do if you stayed in? Probably play video games and surf the web. You need to get outside your comfort zone. And if you run into trouble, I know you'll call, right? She grinned. You are an evil genius, yet I love you, I thought. And John, you may want to turn your sweatshirt around. I looked down and saw that my hood was on my chest. I wiggled it around and gave Mom a thumbs up. I walked through the living room and out the front door. I sat on the nearest pink chair and contemplated my best approach. If I run now, I could probably get a few miles before he knows I'm gone. But the curtains were drawn back and Mom could still see me from the dining room table. If I tell Dad that I was fired, he'll ask why, and maybe I can make up something convincing? Who am I kidding? I can't lie to save my life. Plus, Mom would eventually rat me out and Jordan would do so gleefully. If I tell Dad the truth, he may beat the crap out of me for quitting, but he may also ground me, preventing me from going to the party. But what if Dad's little silver hatchback beeped, startling me out of my plans? He cruised into the driveway, grinning ear to ear. I always found it comical when he drove it because he stood at 6'4" and easily weighed 240. In his vehicle, he looked like a grizzly bear jammed into a gleaming clown car. He claimed that the Silver Stud was a sports car because it had a stick shift. But it has one definite advantage. I'm clearly not compensating, he exclaimed. Oh, how I wish I didn't have an imagination, I thought. Dad grew out of the vehicle. He opened the rear door and pulled out his briefcase in a bright green box with a red bow on it. Bumping the door closed with his hip, Dad walked up the pathway to the porch. He nodded his head up at me. What's happening, John? I stood and dropped my gaze. Towing a circle on the porch, I said, Hey, Dad. He stopped beside me and whispered, Is Mom cooking again? And do we need to make an emergency pizza run? I laughed and shook my head. I quit my job today. Dad's eyebrows came together, darkening his face. He lowered his voice. Excuse me? I inhaled and said, I got chewed out by a bunch of customers and encountered a toilet that would give Stephen King nightmares. Like, the toilet was brown and there wasn't a square of paper anywhere. I tried to smile, but he didn't even twitch. I swallowed and continued. I left the place, and then Alex berated me, saying I'm a spineless coward. Dad hummed. He drove me home, and then I told Mom. Dad walked to one of the seats, practically shouldering me out of the way. He set the box and the briefcase down and turned to face me, folding his arms. With his black beard and dark eyes alongside his hulking physique, he could scare grown men. Combine that with insanely high intelligence, Dad was the most intimidating man on the planet. And standing there, barely reaching his shoulders, I realized that all of him was pissed off at me. Jonathan Robert Andrews. What are the three things a man never does? A man never hurts those who are weaker. A man never abandons his friends. And a man never gives up, I recited. He drilled those lines into me since I could talk. Yeah, you broke all three. I frowned. You quit, and by extension you left your coworkers short-handed when they needed you. I think you are much stronger and smarter than they are, thus making them weaker. I wanted to shrink inside my sweatshirt. I forced myself to stare ahead at his chest. Look me in the eyes. I raised my gaze to meet his narrowed eyes. There was roiling anger. The disappointment was worse. You're almost 19 years old, son. It's time to grab yourself by the balls and man up a bit. You know that your mother and I are stretched thin financially because of your sister. We'll help you out as much as we can, but you need to work. You're going to have shitty jobs. It's part and parcel to life. But this tucking your tail and running at the first sign of trouble, that shit has got to stop. What are you going to do when you can't run? What are you going to do when life bites you in the ass so hard you want to break down crying every damn night? He's talking about Jordan. What are you going to do? I don't know, sir. His frown somehow got deeper. I'm going to have to face it head on. Dad nodded. He put a huge paw on my shoulder. John, I need you to be able to fend for yourself. There are a lot of monsters out there that want to hurt others. Some of them are a lot scarier than me. I need to be able to count on you in case something happens. Do you understand? I nodded furiously. I had no idea what he was referring to, but I knew the right answers. Dad pulled me into a hug and nearly squeezed the life out of me. I love you, son. I love you too, Dad, I muttered into his shirt. He let go and folded his arms. What was Mom's verdict when you told her? She said I had to tell you what happened, and I have to go with Alex to a party tonight. She said it will force me outside my comfort zone. Well, that sounds like something she would say. I would love nothing more than to ground you to an engine block, but... He nodded his head to the sides. Your mother is a wise woman, and she's probably onto something. I nodded, defeated. Cheer up. Maybe you'll meet someone like her. He picked up his stuff. I pointed at the unusual package. What's in the box? Oh, this is just a get-well present for Jordan from Frank. Frank was the only one of Dad's coworkers we ever heard him talk about. Dad helped get Frank and his wife a job alongside him at Kingdom Industries, one of the world's biggest tech companies. I thought it was dumb that we didn't get free stuff like phones or computers, but Dad said he didn't work for that part of the company. He never actually specified what it was that he did. Something with biotech. Dad took the lid off the box and showed a silver tiara. I don't think he realized how old she is, but I guess it's the thought that counts. Can I take it to her? Mom wanted to talk to you, and I need to thank Jordan for making Mom laugh. Dad nodded and handed me the box.
Just don't take all the credit.
We went inside and split up. I walked downstairs to find Jordan in the exact same spot as earlier. The only difference was the show, even though I thought all of the ones she liked were the same pile of colorful crap with different theme songs. Jordan did not find that funny. She did find the box in my hands very intriguing. Nothing like free stuff to brighten a 12-year-old's day. Thank you for telling Mom what happened. She grinned and snatched the box out of my hands. She pulled off the lid and frowned. What's this? The tiara was gone, just a pile of silver sand. No, wait, there was a tiara in there. I stuck my hand in and felt only sand. Then something sharp stung me. I yelped and dropped the box. Jordan shrieked. A black splinter about 2 inches long jutted out of my palm like a shard of glass. The strange object wormed its way into my hand. My arm lit up like I stuck it in a grease fryer. I yelled at the top of my lungs until every muscle in my body seized. I fell and Jordan ran to get Mom and Dad. I lay on my side staring at the fallen box filled with silver sand. What the hell? I can think, but I can't even blink. That thought set my eyes stinging. Dad's feet thundered down the steps. He rolled me onto my back and stared at me with eyes like saucers. He jerked my arm up and cursed. The veins were all black lines running up toward my shoulder. He ran a hand through his wispy hair. What's going on, James? Mom yelled, leaning over me. Her concerned face covered the ceiling and her brown hair curtained off the room like in the ER. Dad sat back on his haunches, trembling. James?
We need to...
Dad's voice gave out. When was the last time that happened? He cleared his throat.
We need to get John to my work. Jordan,
Dad snapped. She jumped at the volume.
I need you to get my phone, sweetie. In my bag, now.
My sister scurried upstairs. James, talk to me, damn it! Mom demanded. Holy crap, Mom never swears. Dad took a shuddering breath.
John's been infected by a shard.
What? Dad grabbed her shoulders and shook her. That's new too.
Shannon, I need you to shut up and trust me.
Mom's eyes were moons, and she nodded without saying anything.
Thank you, Jordan,
Dad said as he took his phone. He pressed one of his contacts and held the phone to his ear. Jordan quietly sobbed and Mom embraced her. She held her daughter while Dad waited for an answer. I was numb and completely immobile. It was like someone unplugged my brain from the rest of my body. Dad's seen this before, and it scared the crap out of him. But he knows how to fix it, I thought, trying to reassure myself. Is John going to be okay? Jordan asked. Mom looked at Dad.
Frank, shut up and listen to me. My son's been infected by a shard.
Yeah. Dad took my arm.
Though, through his hand. He's in the paralysis, but probably less than 30 minutes. Prep the
voice on the other end cut Dad off.
What the hell do you mean you can't help?
The color from Dad's face drained away. He looked at the box, ran a hand through the sand.
Oh my God. He did it.
Frank, you've gotta... The other guy hung up. Dad roared and pounded the floor with his fist. Mom rocked with Jordan and said, James, what's... Dad wasn't listening. He was entering a new number into his phone. Why doesn't he have this person in his contacts like Frank? Dad wiped away sweat from his forehead and brought the phone up once again. Come on. A car door slammed outside. Dad spun on Mom and said,
Shannon, take Jordan and John and get in the closet.
But James, we had...
There's no time!
He wedged the phone between his ear and shoulder. Putting both arms under my armpits, he lifted me up like stinky laundry. He carried my body into the downstairs closet, ushered Mom and Jordan in too. The doorbell rang. Dad muttered a curse and shut the closet on us.
Don't say anything, no matter what you hear.
A heavy hand pounded against the front door.
I love you all so much.
Dad is going to be fine. This is all just a big misunderstanding, I thought, trying to hope. A loud crack, followed by a crash, echoed through the house. Mom held Jordan and kept a shaking hand over my sister's mouth. I tried to wiggle my fingers, my toes, anything. My body remained locked.
Samson, what are you doing here?
Here for the shard, Jimmy, a mechanized, distorted voice sounded. It sounded like a man speaking through a microphone.
Hand it over and I'll leave. Might even send you a check for the door. And put that gun down.
Where did Dad get a gun from?
I will not let you hurt my family, Sam.
A sickening crunch, and Dad cried out, but it sounded nasally. Something heavy clattered to the ground.
You shouldn't mess with firearms, Jimmy.
An explosion echoed through the house. Oh! Oh! Ah! Ah! Nice shotgun you got here, Jimmy. I'll keep shooting until you tell me where the damn rock is. Samson's voice gave away no emotion, as heartless as a robot, but somehow I got the feeling he was enjoying this. He pumped the gun. Jordan let out a squeal that overpowered Mom's hand. Here I thought we were alone, Jimmy. No, Samson! That's my family! They know nothing! Dad's sobs made Mom whimper. The shard is upstairs! Heavy boots cracked against the tile hallway floor. The steps groaned as Samson descended. Mom and Jordan cowered back. I willed my body to move, but nothing happened. Dad screamed. The closet was torn off its hinges. Samson was huge, his body covered in high-tech black armor. A helmet with a red visor covered his face. He raised the shotgun. Why, hello there. Looks like he's already got the shard in him. Upstairs, the soulless voice commanded. Mom and Jordan stood and stepped out. Put a hand on Jordan and leveled the gun at Mom. He can't move. Bring him. Mom grabbed my shoulders and dragged me out. My tailbone whacked against each of the 5 steps on the way up. The monster marched Jordan up the stairs behind us. Dad was against the wall. Blood covered his face and his white shirt was crimson. A puddle of blood spread beneath him. He struggled to sit up, clutching his abdomen. Let them go, Samson! No. Something wet covered my face. Jordan wailed. Dad howled. The grip on my shoulder slackened. A hard smack against the tile. I guess she's gonna have a closed casket. You bastard! Dad screamed. Samson casually pumped the gun and aimed it at him. Jordan leapt at him. Samson twisted and cracked the weapon against her skull. She dropped like a stone. Samson fired the gun into Dad and turned to me. Come on, kid. Someone wants a word with you. Samson punched me in the face and everything went black.